Hello, this is LaurieAnn, your number one fan with the Women Wronged blog, and right now I am going to be introducing someone who is a fairly unlikely advocate for women wronged.
I didn't know I was doing that.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, but I find allies everywhere as I go around the world talking about Bathsheba and Esther and other women who are, I think, wronged in public perception as to the things that happened to them and God's perspective on their response. Because one of the most amazing things that I ever noticed in the Bible was that God never condemns Bathsheba.
That's right.
The only one who was in trouble in that situation was David. And yet, most preaching always kind of assumes that, like, maybe Bathsheba was looking for trouble, or that she consented to trouble. But she was yanked from her bed in the middle of the night by a Middle Eastern sheik, by the messengers, quote, right? Soldiers of a Middle Eastern sheik.
It's always fair to do 50-50.
Always fair to do 50-50.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying the Bible doesn't do it 50-50. The Bible does not condemn her because what were her choices? Her husband and brothers were all away at war. So who was advocating for her at that moment, you know? Yeah. In your story, though, I think 50-50 is probably a little more fair.
Yeah.
So tell us who you are.
My name is Junior Smith, and I'm the digital pastor at Crossroads Christian Communications Incorporated, located in Burlington, Ontario.
Yes.
Canada.
I bet this is your very first opportunity to see a digital pastor.
Yeah.
Did you know there was such a thing?
Yeah, they're real.
I didn't until this morning, but I think it's super awesome.
It is awesome.
So there is someone that you have noticed may have been a little bit wronged in public perception. So tell us about that.
A few years ago, back in 2009, I was asked by the administrative bishop of our church in Jamaica, because I'm Jamaican originally, and they were exploring a theme that talk about hard times and the fact that Jesus Christ was still relevant. It brought me to take a closer look at the book of Job in order to create a dramatic production. And while I was busy characterizing Job, putting Job in character, I played the character Job, and was going out on a limb and kind of exploring some of the ideas and the themes. I started thinking that the wife had very little voice, and that she was oftentimes painted as this devious woman. In scripture, because they would say, don't be like Job's wife who says, just curse God and die. That's all she said.
Yes. Just
curse God and die. And then I began to explore it, and I'm thinking, what if I go out on a limb in exploring the fact that she had a life as well. She had her own emotions. She had her feelings. She had so much going for her as it was going for Job. What if I give her an opportunity to say something?
Right.
And when I did, in a dramatic form, many people stopped and said, thank you. I was thinking, oh my God, some people are going to think this is crazy. But when they looked at it, they're like, oh my God, I don't know if I would have done differently in that situation. Because what I did was actually point out the fact that they say, okay, Job lost his 10 children. So did she.
Yes.
Job lost house, horses. Well, I don't know if it's horses, but sheep and whatever. So did she.
Yes.
Job lost servants. So did she. Job lost homes. So did she. And because her faith was a little bit shaky, is that fair to slap her up the side of the head?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
No.
So I think we've oftentimes given her a bad rap. But when you give her a voice to say to a woman, you are here and you see all 10 caskets in our in our day, imagine 10 hearses, at least 10 wreaths, one each, and you're standing over 10 graves, and you walk in after a very long, terrible day. You've been pregnant 10 times over.
Yes. Right.
You've given birth 10 times over. I have no idea what that is like.
No, me neither. 5, yes. 10, no.
Exactly,
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
But you've done this over and over and over. The Bible didn't say any of them are twins, so let me assume they were all single birth children.
Right. Yeah.
And after burying them, and I'm going to also say maybe it was raining on the day they were buried, and you're coming in from laying your children to rest, and your husband is going to tell you, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gives, and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. I don't think many of us are so saved.
No.
You know, in that time, yes, it takes time to heal and to have faith, but that was her time of lament, and I think she has all right to lament. We don't give her the permission to, but I do think in my mind I'm giving her that permission to say, hey, be that mother.
Well, and there are a couple of other facets of the story. One is that, you know, a woman's time of having more children ends, but a man's does not.
Absolutely.
So her loss, a woman's loss, is always that little bit
It's
worse.
final.
And final in that case, because we assume all the kids were all grown, right?
Yes.
So we see that. And then also, she said that when her husband was suffering too. So there she is, like she's lost everything and everyone except her husband, and then he is miserable. And who's taking care of him?
She is, because the Bible doesn't say she's
compassion?
gone.
Right, there she is sitting by his side. And I mean, you get to the point where you almost, with your loved ones when they're suffering, I mean, there are all kinds of very sweet stories where someone said, I feel like the only reason you're still living right now is you're worried about me, and I want to give you permission to die. And it's almost like she's saying, look, just, you know, stop hanging on to this suffering.
And I agree with you 100%, because I explored that thought, read about it, and I'm thinking, maybe she said it out of love.
Yes.
And some people might say, how could she say that out of love? When you love someone and you see them suffering, and you think, what's the only option to see that person suffer no longer?
Right.
I think if you curse God, I think if you say he doesn't exist, he might get mad at you and just take you out of the misery. And I would rather see that than to see you suffer. Yes, her choices of words may not have been the best. But what is her intent behind it? It might be to give him some kind of peace. And I can appreciate that thought.
Right. And for her to bring her suffering to an end, because, I mean, the kids are gone, that suffering is over. You know, I mean, she's going to be mourning for a long time. But his situation is sort of dragging the whole thing out.
Absolutely.
It's not coming to an end, and it's dragging out her suffering as well as his. And she must be kind of waiting too. So what happens next? You know? All this pain and destruction that has happened to me.
Because whatever he goes through, she also feels her life is put on hold because she has to take care of him. He's deteriorating physically. Mentally, he's a mess because he doesn't know what's going on. He talks a lot throughout the book of Job. The book of Job is long. Job talks.
It's like a monologue, really, with interruptions.
Exactly. He talks a whole lot, and he didn't hear very little from God until the end. But his wife is mentioned only once, but never did it say she left. So that means she was there with him. And, you know, at the end, the Bible says that his children were restored. Whether it was with the same wife, I don't know.
That is an interesting question.
You know, it doesn't say she left, and I don't want to
Right.
misquote the scriptures, but
Right.
I'm assuming she's been there for some of this journey,
Right. Right.
and I mean, I think I have to give her. I don't think she's devious. That's the
Right.
bottom line
Right.
of my
Not
story.
devious or malicious.
Right.
Right. Not
And
malicious.
she's
yeah.
not malicious. And at the end of it, it's what I wanted somebody to get from the play is this. If you, or my thesis question would be, if you were in that situation, what would you do?
Well, what the people us women who
Yeah.
who cry about our broken fingernails
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not
I'd want
getting
to
our favorite flavor of
let's
pizza.
say I show this play to a group
Yeah.
of women, maybe 400 women.
Yeah.
Some who think maybe she's, give her a bad rap, but
Mhm.
put some guys in there too and hear what they have to say. The question is, if you are in that situation, what would you do?
Right.
I've never lost a child. I would hate to.
Experience
Much
that
more
loss,
losing
yeah.
10.
I haven't really thought about Lot's wife from that perspective, but that would also make an interesting story.
Right,
An
and I
interesting
mean,
thing to explore.
I haven't explored, and
And then,
having explored this one, I'm assuming I will be
like other
exploring some
women.
others too.
So I've been exploring Esther
Mm-hmm.
and Bathsheba, and Miriam, Moses' sister.
Okay.
Mary, the mother of Jesus.
Right.
I mean, talk about a woman wronged.
Mhm.
We don't spend a whole lot of time lingering on the fact that the Lord put her in the situation of being a single mom,
And she was very young, possibly a teenager.
very young. And at first, I mean, her betrothed didn't even know,
Yeah.
right, that it was God's baby, and she had to live with that shame for whatever season until him. And then she went to live in a distant city. You have to wonder, was this the family's way of sort of, setting it aside? And then Noah's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
I think a funny thing about the story of Noah is that in American culture anyway, we kind of tell the story as if Noah and his family would have been like, na 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 boo boo, like ha ha ha, we're on the boat, you're not. But Noah's wife was losing everyone except her sons. She was losing her mom and her dad and her sisters and her brothers and her cousins and her neighbors. I mean, what was that like?
And then she had to take care of everybody on the boat.
And
Pretty
then
sure she was cooking a lot.
Yes,
every evening.
and trying to keep the animals clean
Yeah.
and safe and healthy for the whole long journey.
And her husband too.
Right. So,
Keep the animals and her husband clean and say.
yeah. So what do you think the message for today's women would be from the life of Job's wife?
Give yourself that permission to express your true feelings. When you look
That's
at the prophets, they all questioned God.
Yes.
And sometimes we make it a capital sin to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, well, not sometimes, most of the time, God moves very, very slowly.
Yes. Yeah.
He has a plan. We know that we trust him, we love him, we believe in him 100%. He just moves too slow sometimes. And that is based on how anxious we are.
Right.
And so sometimes we say, but God, why? Why am I even doing this? Why am I even going through all of this faith thing? And then sometimes in the middle of all of that, he just quiets you and he comforts you. And lament is okay. Lament is in scripture.
Yes.
And we should feel free. It's a part of healing.
Yes.
Because it would be as if I'm trying to say to Job's wife, do not mourn your children, because it's going to be all right. You're blessed and highly favored. The Lord is going to work things out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those Christianese phrases just don't work.
Right.
And you just want to yell at somebody, and you just sometimes have to yell at somebody, and it's a part of the healing process, and God will finish it. So when you lock things up on the inside, it's toxic. It's
Yes.
not healthy for people. One of the jobs I do here allows me to receive messages from a lot of women who are hurting. They're being bruised and beaten by spouses. They'll never tell you this face to face. But it's one thing I've noticed is that when people write on you don't prompt them. They're unprompted. They're
Right.
unquestioned. They're in a moment going through a stressful time, and when they write, it is the most honest thing you'll ever see. Because when you're in front of them, there is that barrier. Should I trust her or him, or should I not? But when they write, especially when they're writing it to a digital guy somewhere, so, well, he doesn't know me.
Right. Yeah.
Even if he judges me, I don't care. And he might not judge me because he doesn't know me.
Right.
And when I listen to these women, I hear their voices in these letters, and they say, I cannot tell anybody this.
Right.
They hold all of that pain on the inside, and they lose sleep. They're unhappy. They are burdened down. And I'm all for opening up, expressing how you feel, tell it to God, tell it to somebody else, and healing begins.
Yes. Yeah.
Find your voice and use it.
Yes. Yes. Something I like to tell people who are afraid to express anger at God is that God has broad shoulders.
Yeah.
He
He
can handle, even if we are falsely accusing him and raging at him and frustrated at him, at least we're communicating.
Yeah.
He can work with that. He can't work with our silence. He can't work with us ignoring him and avoiding him. He can work with it if we are expressing ourselves.
And some people might say, but why say anything if God knows everything? We do that because it shows God what we are aware of and what we're willing to trust him with.
Right. Well, and it
So
shows us, right? We listen
It
to
shows,
ourselves.
right, and it shows our dependence on him as well, and it points out exactly what we're struggling with.
Right.
So we don't just sit down and be quiet about it and say, well, God knows and he will fix it. No, he wants you to tell him.
Right.
And it's not always going to be nice and beautiful like a bed of roses.
Right.
It's going to take tears sometimes. It might take some yelling. It might take lots of anger.
Right.
But at the end of the day, healing happens.
Thank you very much,
A
Junior.
pleasure.
Wasn't that awesome, everyone? See you next time
Take
on
care.
the Women Wronged blog.